Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, man. I got one of my all-time favorite people, team member, General Tire team member, Nitro team member, Andy Montgomery in my boat. Man, thanks a lot for taking time to do this, buddy. I really appreciate it. I've known you a long time, but I don't know a lot about you. Like I've learned, you know, just being around you that you graduated from Clemson. You're an engineer, yet bass fisherman.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people on the channel, they always ask, how do you get to be a pro fisherman? How did you get to where you're at? And it's been an interesting story. You know, we did one with Shaw Grigsby and Paul Elias and you know, your buddy.
Mark Daniels Jr.
Yeah, we did one with Mark Daniels
See, I
Jr.
watch them too.
Yeah. And so it's just always interesting. So I got to know, like, how did you, a Clemson grad, an engineer, come to chasing green and brown fish out here on the lake?
Yeah, well, the sad part is I actually worked for a couple of years so I could retire at 48 years old with full benefits, and here I am fishing for a living. So it shows you how smart I am.
Where'd you work?
I worked for the state of South Carolina.
Doing what?
As an engineer, a
Like
roads and bridge engineer.
Roads and bridges.
Yeah. So just mainly implementing plans and stuff. But that wasn't the fun part of my life. The fun part was fishing and how I got there. I don't know, I guess it's a typical story. I grew up just absolutely loving to fish. Fished every chance I could get at the pond.
Your dad?
My dad fished. I call him a worm dragger because that's what he threw, a Texas rig worm and a crankbait called a Carolina Killer. You ever heard of that? It's a flat-sided crankbait. And he was a good fisherman. Daddy was a good fisherman, but of course my dad and my grandpa both fished. I was lucky enough to have some other people take me fishing, so we went worm dragging a lot on Lake Wiley, you know, one of our home lakes. So, but when I was 12 years old, of course, reading all the Bassmaster magazine, Denny Breyer. You wasn't even there yet, I don't think, but you was close. You was a young buck. You wasn't.
Be nice to me. I may be older than you. I'm not that much older than
That's
you.
why I said you wasn't. I said you wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
You wasn't E squared yet. You was.
I was probably dreaming about it too at the same time.
You was young in your career.
Yeah.
But anyway, so just back then there wasn't no internet. It was
Right.
reading magazines and just loving the fish, man. And one of the biggest things, I looking back on it, when I was 12 years old. Think about that now. How old's your son?
He's 12.
Right.
Yeah.
And I see a 12-year-old now, but when I was 12 years old, that's when my daddy went to the back of the boat. At 12 years old.
You got to start running the front.
At 12 years old.
Wow.
And so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And we didn't have a nice boat. It was a 79 16-foot Skeeter with a 150 on it. 150 on it.
That thing flew.
The motor was so old though, it'd run about 40. it was probably wasn't running on all cylinders and everything. So, but that's it, man. I grew up loving the fish. Not a great boat. Well, no super fancy boat. Daddy went to the back at 12 years old. Man, I was just so into it. And in high school, I played a lot of sports. I love sports. And
You're a big baseball fan.
Big
I know
baseball
that.
fan, so
Atlanta Braves, right?
Yeah. So I played baseball and basketball. Played a lot, and you know, that cut down on your time to fish, but I still made time anytime I could. A cool story about baseball, I don't know if it's cool or whatever, but we lost, and we was really good my senior year. We lost like one game before the upper state championship. So of course, last high school sports game we'll ever play, and all my buddies, you know, they was on the field crying, and I was sitting on the hill. I remember Mama asking me, "You don't want to go down there with your buddies?" And I said, "Mama, them boys don't know how many fish they ought to catch." So that was
on
it.
your brain all the time.
That was it. I was ready to fish. I'd played sports my whole life, and looking back on it, now you'd wish you could play one more sports game, right? But anyway, when I went to college, that's when I really had the time. Another story is that's when I got a newer. It was a '95 Ranger used boat.
What model was it?
It was the 480.
481 or
480.
482?
It was a 480.
The two was a dual console. The one was a single.
My dad had it until he passed, and you know, a buddy of ours has got it now, so it's still running. But it was a good fishing boat.
Yeah.
But how I got that boat is. And I grew up very middle class. We didn't want for food, but I was very, very middle class. And, you know, Mom and Daddy always told me and my sister that they was going to pay for our school, which school wasn't what it is now.
Right.
but I actually got a lot of academic scholarships. Pretty much had a full ride to Clemson, and I guilted them. They didn't have to pay for my school, so I guilted them into buying me a boat. And I tell Mama now, that's the best investment you ever. Yeah, it worked out better than that Clemson tuition.
Yeah, that's
so
really cool.
Anyway, I got that boat. That allowed me to, because the boat we had wasn't good enough to take to Clemson and fish Kiowee and Hartwell and lakes like that, and that's what I did, man. I always scheduled. I really loaded up on some classes on certain days. I either had Tuesdays off or I had Fridays off. So if I had Tuesdays off, I'd drive all the way home, fish a local lake. Fridays same way, and then when I was at school in the evenings, and maybe skipped a class or two, and fish Kiowee a lot. So that's when the time on the water really started taking shape,
right.
and me and Daddy was team partners, which was good. And then another guy, Louis Hull, who made shooter lures, jigs, you probably heard of them. And Brian Thrift was team partners. And us four kind of fished together. So me and Brian fished a lot together. We learned a lot together, especially fishing shallow. And then when he went out here, he learned to fish deep. But yeah, so going to Clemson and spending a lot of time on water there. And then, me and Brian kind of growing up together and learning together, that was a big deal.
When did you take that first step? Was there any?
Oh, it was scary now. So I graduated school, and actually all the way through school, I worked for the state of South Carolina, part-time summer help, and then had a job waiting on me as soon as I graduated.
Have you got married yet?
No.
Okay.
So still living at home. Hadn't got married yet. I didn't take my engineering exam, where you got to take it to get your engineering license. I had a job waiting on me, and I had a tournament that day, so I skipped that.
Oh, no.
I don't even know if Mama knows that part, but now she does. But anyway, I didn't need my engineering license to work in the job that I was getting. I could always go back and take the test. So, but anyway, I got the degree. I just didn't have the engineering license. But yeah, I went to work for the state, worked all the overtime I could. And back in them days, you had to qualify to get in FLW unless you had a sponsor exemption or something. And I mean, obviously I didn't have that. So I was fishing a division of I think they called them Ever Starts back then, because the top 10 made the FLW tour. And I was also fishing the FLW as a co-angler to try to qualify in. And so I won the co-angler side of things. Won the co-angler of the year, whatever you call that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's another good story there. We'll get to that in a minute. But won that qualified me into the FLW. Again, I was using all the time I had and then trying to save up comp time. I didn't get paid overtime. I got comp time. And then it kind of came at a crossroads to where, I didn't have any more time off work. I had really good bosses, and, I talked to him, and I was living at home, didn't have no bills, and it was, I talked to him, said, look, man, I got to fish this tournament. I got no choice. And I want to take it off with no pay, and if you can't do that, I understand, and, this may be where I try to make this work. So that was scary.
He said no.
Well, he said, let me talk. So John McCarter is a guy that actually hired me. He had done moved up to the district. Shane said, I need to talk to John. And I understood, man. If they let me, they wanted to, but if they let me do it, then it opened up a can of worms in the rest of the business. So I was on my way to Florida. Knew I done had this conversation with Shane, and John called me. And they call me String Bean. That's what they used to call me.
String Bean.
I was skinny. I ate too many cheeseburgers since then. But John called me, and he told me, he said, look, I don't know if I'll be here, but if you ever need a job, you find me, you got one. I said, well, I appreciate that.
Well, that's a fallback.
Oh, it was good.
Yeah.
That relieved you a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And but that was it. Long, boring story, and luckily we made it.
So
man.
you went down there, and then the wheel started going.
Yeah,
I
had a good rookie year until this place. We're at St. Clair right now. This place has cost me the only FLW championship I ever missed was because of this place, and I think it cost me 2 Bassmasters Classic. Thank goodness I'm way up there in Redcrest before we get. Yeah, this place is a thorn in my side.
Dang it.
It cost you a little more than me. It cost me a Classic that year. It cost you Angler of the Year.
Yeah, it did.
Actually, that year, DB wrote a story like it'd take an absolute disaster for these guys not to make the Classic. I was one of them dudes.
Me too. Thanks for bringing that up, Andy. That's not supposed to be part of it.
It's a sore in my side too.
Yeah,
but anyway, so FLW for 5 years. The first year they let us fish the opens. You know, there was several of us fished them where the schedules aligned. I qualified, finished second in the Southern Opens, made the elites. Same year Ott made it, and then we become roommates, best friends, and
that's cool.
Our careers have grown from there, and then now we're here in Major League Fishing.
So what was that story about a rod and reel? Like your mom would pay you?
Oh, you got a good memory. So I was playing football. And Mama hated football. She just did. I mean, typical mama, didn't want her baby to get hurt. So anyway, she told me if I don't play football, she'll buy me any rod that I want, which was a big deal for me. I mean, it was. When I started my professional career, I owned 7 rods and reels. And it took me 6 birthdays and not playing football to get them 7 rods and reels.
6 birthdays and not playing football to get
But anyway, so she did. Fast forward a year, I didn't show up first day of practice. Coach Blanton come to me. He said, "Where was you at yesterday?" And I told him. He said, "You be at practice today and I'll handle your mama." And so I did, and I played again. And I played again that year. Next year, same thing. She said, "I'll buy you any rod." And that's a big, I mean, that was.
But you didn't get them because you played, I guess.
No, I got it. I did.
Well,
I got it. But so then I did, the same year, "I'll buy you any rod you didn't." Because she had done bought me the rod before I went back out there to practice.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So anyway, I got 2 Denny Briar flipping sticks. The old team dive with Denny Briar flipping sticks, green handle. And I actually used that rod 2010 when I was qualifying for the elites, the last Southern Open.
Oh, wow.
That's when I broke it.
Wow.
So I got it in high school, broke it on the last day of the qualifying for the elites.
Wow.
So that's it. And then here I am talking to.
Yeah, talking to me. So what about the co-angler story? What was the co-angler? When you
Oh yeah, so fast forward, I won the co-angler of the year. And I'm gonna tell it this way, and then I'll tell you what I got. So fast forward a few years, and now I'm fishing FLW, and I draw Brian New. I think people's heard of Brian New. You know, he's a young up-and-coming fisherman, really good fisherman. Grew up where I grew up, so I knew him. And man, he's in my boat. This is the last day we're at Kentucky Lake, and he's just, dude, he's in pins and needles. He's on pins and needles. And he said, "Man, I could," and he was leading co-angler of the year. He was leading co-angler of the year. "I got to catch him, man. And he said, "I could really use that boat." I said, "Boat?" He said, "Yeah, man, I get a 518 Ranger if I win co-angler." I said, "Do what?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I got a lifetime supply of butter when I won it." And you talking about getting a boat. That's a true story.
That's how times have changed.
Yeah, I won a lifetime supply of Lando Lakes butter.
Wow.
Which was $2,500 gift certificates for butter. So apparently, in a lifetime.
You're serious? I thought you were kidding.
No,
you actually get butter.
I got $2,500 worth of gift certificate for Lando Lakes butter.
Do you still have some left?
Nah, my sister spent it all. But apparently, one person eats $2,500 worth of butter in their lifetime.
Oh my goodness!
I'm serious.
I didn't think we'd eat that much butter in a lifetime.
Well, I don't know if I want to have butter.
All right, I
anymore.
got one other thing I want to talk about. Andy, you had something happen that's like, to me, just and the day the skid steer went in the pond.
Yeah, you didn't tell me we was gonna have to talk about this.
We're lucky Andy's even sitting here, in my opinion. You know, a skid steer, for you guys that don't understand, you know, it's a deal on tracks or wheels, and you've got this loader in the front. And anytime the loader's off the ground, you cannot get out the door. I mean, the door will not open on the brand that he had. And he's doing some work at the farm. He's got a really cool farm and a really cool social media with his girls. It's hilarious. Like, I crack up every day when I see it. But he's going to put stuff in the pond, and the skid steer goes to the bottom of his pond. He just built it 25 feet deep, and it's chocolate milk. Chocolate milk skid steer, 12,000 pounds to the bottom of his lake, 25 feet deep. And the whole thing filled with water. I don't mean, if it's something you don't want to talk about, you don't have to talk about it, man. I know,
I talk about it. It's just, because it can be a lesson. I mean, it really can. And I was putting lime in my pond. I'd put it out on my pastures.
Before you say, but what I take from it, you don't ever know our end day.
Ever. No. Never know your end date. And I'll get to that. The one comment that kind of struck me through the whole deal. But instead of walking through the whole thing, long story short, hey, I grew up on equipment. You know, I've been running it. Not only did I go into the front of the boat when I was 12 years old, you know, my daddy used to call and say, hook up the cow trailer from work. He worked in a warehouse when I was 12. So I grew up on equipment. We use our bucket all the time on equipment, right? So my thought was, if I go to sliding, I'll slam the bucket. Dry, hadn't been raining, I'll stop myself and walk myself back out. But the best way I'd put lime. This was on my last bucket. I wasn't going down in the same place because I know these people was going to tell me what I did wrong. I wasn't going down the same place. I was going down a new place. It was dry. I just hit a spot of clay, and before I could think, before you could think, I was submerged, and it's like something you see on movies. You know, the water's coming in. So, yeah, the boom was up. Looking back on it, I didn't know what happened. I thought the machine had shut off from being submerged. Tried to go out the front door, and it was hitting the boom. I was trying to slam my bucket, but it happened so fast. You hit that water so hard that I was trying to go out the front door at the same time I was trying to slam my bucket. So I'd lifted one of the lap bars. Didn't know it at the time. Looking back on it, I know that's what happened because I couldn't process why that bucket didn't slam. So anyway, I remember the guy I bought it from said, if you ever get in trouble, pull this tab.
But now wait a second, you're completely submerged in water at this point?
I'm done. Oh yeah, I'm done.
You thought your life was over.
Oh, it was over, and
you're in the bottom of the lake, water's everywhere, and you can't get out the front because the door won't open.
I'm trying to tell the story without getting emotional. I don't want to get emotional.
I want to hear the story, because to me it's just like,
yeah, well,
it's crazy.
it was. I told myself this is it, and I was really, really calm, and people, you know, I've heard smart comments like, yeah, right, he was scared to death. No, I wasn't. No, I was. Till you in that situation, or if you was in my body, you don't know what I was. Right. And I promise you, I was just as calm as I could be. And of course, I thought about my little girl, and then it hit me. He said, if you get in trouble, pull this, and you can go out the back window. And so I pulled it, and it's the rubber seal. First time I'd ever pulled it, never seen it pulled. I pulled it, and the rubber seal came off, and I was pushing on that window trying to get out. And it, you know, the weight of the water wouldn't let me out. And long story short, I was pushing as hard as I could. The cab finally filled. It busted open. I don't really remember going out the window, but my next vivid thought was I'm swimming. But it was like you say, it was muddy. I didn't know which way was up. I was swimming sideways, and I remember thinking, am I ever gonna come up? And it finally got a little light above me. Swam straight up, come up in the middle of the pond, backstroked my way to the side, and
thank you, Jesus. Is all I can say.
That's back to the calm part, man.
Holy smokes!
I knew it was. There again, I've heard smart comments about it, but till you're in that situation, you don't know. I was so calm because I knew in 2 minutes it was over for me, and I was going to be fine. You know, I wasn't scared. 2 minutes, it was going to be over. Of course, I was still trying to get out. I was pushing, and really all them thoughts. The thought was this is it. Is before I remembered the tab. So anyway, I got out, and there you go. And so I thought about posting it. I thought about not posting it. I finally posted it on social media. It blew up, and of course I couldn't read all the comments. There was so many. But when I just opened my Facebook, one of the first comments was, it was a guy. He said I'm an EMT. I think he was an EMT guy, and So I started my post it was just another day, because it was just another day in my life. And he said, I've seen horrific things in my career. People lose their life, and every single one of them start as it was just another day. Yeah, that's the thing you can take from it, and be ready, because every day is just another day.
I can't tell you how many times I've done with the skid steer at my pond or at the river, and like, you may have saved my life, because I think about it completely different now.
Yeah,
completely different.
It's amazing. So once that happens, and of course we know a lot of people, meet a lot of people all over the country, and our social media gets out to a lot of people. So it's unbelievable how many stories I've heard of people going off in the lakes and ponds. Most of them on lawnmowers, so they just swim off.
Right.
Open cab tractors. So, but I do know too that got killed on open cab skid steers, just like me. They drowned. One of them drowned in a creek, couldn't get out, and one of them drowned in a pond. Open cab. They just, some reason they couldn't get their lap bar off. So, yeah, why'd you bring up that story? But
I mean, post it. It's all right.
No, it's all good. You can post it. It was a very eye-opening, and like you said, and like I said, the whole ordeal is I know I'm ready to die, because I was put in that position. You're done. Your time's done. That was my thoughts, and it's just another day. It was, every accident starts as it's just another day.
I'm glad you're still here, buddy. I'm so glad.
I'm glad I am there to pick on Edwin a little bit. He told me
you're
on the way up here. He said, Andy, just be nice to me this week.
He's never nice to me.
I am too.
He
I
picks
respect
on me
that.
so bad. Oh.
But I respect you. I respect a lot of them.
I respect.
Let me know how to phrase this. Older guys better. I do. That's who I look up to.
Oh, thank you.
The ones that's got a little gray around the ears.
Man, Andy, I hope you're okay with bringing that up.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Post it.
I appreciate you taking the time with us. I appreciate this a bunch. I think the world of you. I think you're a great role model for the young kids that watch this stuff. You know, for my son, I told Mark Daniels, you're another one of them. I would love for my son to grow up to be just like you. I mean, you're just a good human being, and the world needs a lot more people like you, bud.
I appreciate that, and the feeling's mutual. And I know we pick back and forth a lot, but it really,
I can take it.
It really is mutual. I respect a lot of the old guys for different.
He's calling me an old guy now. Thanks, bud.
Veterans. Let me just close this. Veterans. I respect them for different. You know, I respect Shaw's attitude, which is just impeccable. I respect your work ethic, which is just second to none. Edwin's work ethic is second. So being around you guys and looking up to you guys have definitely helped me in my career, no doubt.
Interesting story though, how you engineer, Clemson grad, and you're out here bass fishing. That's
out here
cool,
bass fishing, talking to Edwin Evers while it's raining on
I know, it's starting to rain. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate
it.
Thank you.